Welcome to the Nebula Music Podcast Topic Review. This is a segment where I will be sitting down with some of my previous guests and going over some topics that fans submitted for us to answer. And I'm very excited to kick this off with Sam Blakelock, who is an Instagram marketing whiz. So over the next couple of weeks, I will be talking with Sam about some specific Instagram marketing strategies that helped him grow Pickup Jazz and his very own brand to enormous amount of success. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right in. All right, guys, this is Eddie Barca with the Nebula Music Podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me again on this episode. I'm very excited to have Sam Blakelock join me again. Sam, how are you?
Hey, man. Doing really well. Excited to dig into some really fine details for Instagram.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. For those of you guys that might have missed it, I actually got a chance to interview Sam a couple months ago, maybe a month or two ago, and I got a chance to really learn about how it is that you do what you do with Pickup Jazz and why you are the master, the Instagram marketing master. You're so full of knowledge, and the questions came pouring in, Sam. And so let's just answer one of these questions, which is how to get a good video on Instagram. And I think that encompasses, lighting, audio, and even framing, and maybe even like equipment. So, Sam, this may be a broad question, but how do we get a good, decent video on Instagram?
It's the idea of how many boxes you can tick for your content. So how many parts of your content can you make really engaging? So there's lots of parts. There's the lighting, there's what you play, there's what you look like, there's the sound, there's the camera angle. And lighting is a huge part of that. I would say video quality is probably more important than sound, and of video quality, lighting is the most important. Actually, more important than your gear, I reckon. You can have a really awful phone, but if the lighting is good, then it's going to make up for that.
So let's dive in. It's interesting that you say that because for all my videos, I've used a phone, but the lighting definitely always helps. And so obviously you can get away with really good videos on your phone. So what other equipment can we use other than just our phones specifically?
So there's two options really. There's your phone or there's a camera, and cameras are usually DSLRs or a video camera or like a stills camera. And the quality of that for a proper camera is actually going to be a lot higher than your phone, but it's going to take you a lot more time because you're going to have to edit the video, maybe sync some audio with it. But the result will be a lot higher. And I'm often weighing up the different options of which one to use. But in general, your phone is fine, especially if you have good lighting. And there's two types of lighting, obviously. There's natural lighting and there's artificial. And natural lighting is a window or sitting outside, and that's always going to make your video look good. So if you have a window, always face the window. You'll see most of the people on Instagram who are getting above 30,000 views, like guitarists, singers, piano players, they have really strong light. And if you don't have a window, then consider buying a lamp. It's really cheap off Amazon. You can buy LED panels for less than $100. And that's going to emulate natural light. Often you can change them between yellow and blue. Because often the light bulbs, I might look around me right now, often light bulbs you might have in your room, if you look around, they might be like a weird color. They might be super bright, like a hospital, like blue, or they might be super yellow, which often comes across on video as being kind of fuzzy. So a simple option would be to swap out your light bulbs, and usually blue is better because you can then color grade it in Instagram. But the main thing is plenty of light. So that's going to instantly make your videos really pop.
Now, real quick, if you are using natural lighting, is there a specific time of the day that you recommend, whether it's early, midday, afternoon?
Mornings always look good. There's a certain type of feeling you can feel where the sun is like coming at a more of a horizontal level. It really, every video that I see that was filmed in the morning, it's got a special feeling about it. There's a lot of light. So aim for morning if you can.
Now, you did mention camera angles, and so that's definitely something that helps a lot. I know sometimes, I don't mean to go on a rant here, but sometimes I do see cameras in weird angles where you can only see the back or not even the instrument in general. And so what do you think about camera angles, Sam?
Yeah, I'll tell you from a guitarist perspective. Then I'm interested to hear about a drummer's perspective because I feel like drummers have been doing the weird camera angles for a lot longer than guitarists. Um, so for guitar, um, it's kind of like an arms race of being creative. This is on Instagram specifically, and also doing something different to catch people's attention. So the common one you'll see people like Matthias Asato or most guitarists is just straight on face, body, guitar. Having the face in there is always a good idea because you get expressions and that adds to it. But no, it's not really zoomed out. It's nice intimate crop. So that's kind of I'd say 50 to 70% of people are just doing that. And then there's people experimenting with quite close-up angles, like along the fretboard from either direction. And that is quite striking if you notice it on the Discover page, which is where a lot of views come from now. So that's going to, if someone's going through the Discover page and see a really close-up of your instrument, then that will help you get a lot more views. But there's the angles, really, for guitar, it's looking down from above, like often people will put it under their chin or strap it to a pole or looking along the guitar, and that's often just on a table or just looking straight ahead. And that applies to bass players as well. Piano players, often you'll see them looking over their hands, which is quite nice. And on Pickup Jazz, those videos, when I share those, often get high engagement because it feels like you're really there in the moment. Because at the end of the day, Instagram's about a real moment. So as much as you can deliver a like organic, native feeling to your content with the camera angle, then that's gonna really enhance it. Piano, I feel like there's less. It's usually looking over it or it's like looking ahead at the piano player. Singers, I think probably less crazy angles are suitable. And then let me hear about drummers, Eddie.
Yeah, you know what? For drummers, I feel like it can be a little bit difficult because if you're not seeing the whole instrument, it's not as interesting. So the one rule of thumb that I do have that I know a lot of drummers do is try your best to not show your back. I mean, I know it depends on the room that you're in. And so if possible, avoid showing your back. But the most popular angles that I have seen and that I have used are overhead. So if you're able to have something where you can shoot your shot from overhead. And here's a quick little tip, actually, a little hack that I've discovered. If you have a regular tripod and you buy a selfie stick, you can actually attach that selfie stick to your tripod. And if you're using your iPhone or Android to film yourself playing drums, then you can attach your phone to the selfie stick, attach that to the tripod, and all of a sudden you have this like boom stand. So that's one way I've done it. It's super life hack. And then the next popular one, it's kind of tied. It's either a side view or a front view. You know, like the front view is a little hard to pull off because you have to show off most of your drum set. Otherwise, it looks a little awkward, especially if you only see your hands move. The side view is usually the go-to one. Like right next to where your hi-hat is, angle it a little bit upward so you can see your body moving and you can see the snare, which is where most of your action is going to happen, is hi-hat, snare. And then when you go to the ride, which is usually on your right-hand side, then you can still see that body extend. So I would recommend overhead shot, front shot if you can get the whole drum set, or the side shot, which is closest to your hi-hat. And so if you're left-handed and your hi-hat's on the other side, well, do that side. But that's the angles for drummers.
That's interesting.
And so let's also talk about audio a little bit. Now, when it comes to these videos, obviously, are you okay with just using audio from your phone?
In general, audio from your phone is the best way to go. It's simpler, it's easier. You can the video and audio are right there, synced together. If you're doing external audio, then you have to edit it. Often there might be some clipping involved when you then put the video on Instagram. So it has to be, often you have to put a limiter on external audio so it doesn't peak. Because Instagram is quite fragile for audio levels. But there's something really organic and relatable about iPhone video or Samsung, I'd say, or the Android equivalent. There's something very relatable about the audio coming from it because it's almost as if you filmed it yourself and then you're watching it. But you can, of course, mic up your amp, mic up your drums, put a Zoom stereo mic, and then mix it. Often I I recommend mixing a bit of the room in there so it doesn't feel too cold like you're in a studio. But really, iPhone video often is going to perform just as good as if you took the time to mic it all up. How about for drums, Eddie?
Well, for drums, it can be a little bit difficult. I have gotten away with using my audio from my iPhone. If it's far enough away, well, actually, the new iPhones do a pretty good job of muting a lot of that extra high frequencies that you get when you hit the cymbals, but it's a little harder, I will say that, with an iPhone. So I highly recommend getting an external recording device. I use a Zoom. There's plenty of handheld recorders that you can buy, either whether it's a Tascam, or even Sony has some that are as cheap as like $50. You know, usually those are fine. The higher quality ones obviously make it sound better, but if you really wanted something that would last you a long time, I highly recommend the Zoom H6, which is what I have. It comes with already these two mics built in, and it comes with 4 other additional inputs that you can put other mics in. So when it comes to drummers, highly recommend, if you don't have any money for audio, iPhone's fine. If you have a little bit of money for audio, buy a handheld recorder. And even above that, then you can go into buying an actual like studio setup with mics. But that's more advanced. If you don't have the money for that, then you don't need that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Drums is a bit tricky because the volume thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're singing, playing a guitar, then I think perhaps iPhone is more suitable.
This has been a Nebula Music Podcast and Pickup Jazz topic review. I hope that you found this very useful, and definitely tune in next week because we will continue going over more details that will help you push your career forward using social media and other creative ways.